we're with the youngest assistant principal.
Community activist, about the Manchester community.
Today we're with the youngest assistant principal and we're going to do an interview. All right, let's go. So, how are you?
I'm good, very good. It's been a busy week. There's lots happening, lots being planned. I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right. How would you describe yourself to people that don't know you?
If someone doesn't know me and if they ask me to describe myself, I would usually say that I'm a community activist.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I'd say I'm a community activist who is very passionate about the Manchester community, an individual who is passionate about creating opportunities for young people. And I'd also say an individual who is very passionate about working with young people and ensuring that they are able to achieve success.
Did you always see yourself working in this sector with education, with young people?
To be honest, I'd say growing up, I was unsure which path I wanted to go down. I'd say it was due to my community work that I joined in 2007. I started to work with the youth clubs, and I'm sure we'll go more into detail about that. And that was when I realized that I wanted to work with young people and that I was passionate about supporting those who needed support in order to reach the goals that they wanted to achieve.
Yeah. I did some research. I heard in 2006, 2007, one of your friends by the name of Jesse, they were shot. So firstly, I want to say I'm sorry to hear that. And how did you feel? How did that impact you? 15, isn't it? So how did you feel? Still in school, you've got a friend who just been shot. How do you feel?
I'd say around that time, around that moment, that was quite a difficult situation that I was, let's say, dealing with and experiencing at that time. Being at a young age and losing a close friend to gun crime, it was a situation that I had never experienced. It was a situation that I never had imagined, let's say, being in. And it was at that point, it was a moment where I was then able to think about what I wanted to do in terms of my next step. Losing a close friend due to such a tragic incident, that made me realize that, life is so short and we have to make the most out of, the amazing opportunity that we have in terms of achieving our goals and achieving success. So it was at that moment that I always use the phrase light bulb moment. At that moment, I had that light bulb moment, which I'd say it gave me the drive to want to work with young people. It gave me the drive to want to work with establishments such as Greater Manchester Police and the local councillors to create opportunities so that we didn't lose any more lives of our young people around that time. So I'd say it was a difficult position and situation to be in, but I'd say I used that tragic incident as a way to understand what my purpose was in life. And I realized that my purpose was to help young people to refrain them from either losing their lives or making such, I'd say, such choices.
So what are you doing right now to stop knife crime, to stop people getting hurt? What are you doing?
I'd say since 2007 and 2008, I joined a project called Reclaim. And that project was for young people who needed extra support and extra guidance. And I joined that project as a mentee, as a young person who needed such an amazing program. And I'd say the Reclaim project helped me so much because it helped me to understand, and it helped me to go to Parliament and to speak with councillors and to create programs which I was able to use and to implement within our local community. So that was where I say my community work journey started. Following on from that, I began to work with Greater Manchester Police, and the reason why was my mission was I understood that as a young person back then and as young people, I realized that we didn't quite have that relationship with authorities and establishments like the police.
Yeah.
So my mission was to help them to understand that funding and money needed to be implemented into our local communities to help young people have opportunities. So that's where I began to organise and deliver under 18 events for our local community. I started going to the different youth clubs and delivering sessions and workshops. And at that time, remember, I wasn't of age to be employed. I was also still a student. So I was going into schools at that young age and delivering assemblies, delivering workshops about how we as young people can make use of the opportunities that are available to us. Once I then joined as a young adult, I should say, and that's when I then joined the education sector and travelled through to the position that I'm at now. So I'd say my purpose now in terms of working to decrease the gun and knife crime activity, it's all about, I'd say, creating those opportunities for young people. I'd say it's all about working with establishments to understand what young people need, such as employment opportunities, such as opportunities to help them grow and to create their personal development. And I'd say once those opportunities are available for our young people, it's about helping our young people to understand how they can access these opportunities. So I have an online jobs agency called Manchester Job Opportunities, where I advertise jobs, apprenticeships, training opportunities, volunteering opportunities where young people can access, along with the other hats that I have in the community, such as I'm one of the directors of Manchester Caribbean Carnival, which is all about bringing together all the different cultures. It's about celebrating culture, celebrating diversity, providing platforms for young people to perform on, and other different hats within the community.
Yeah. How was your school life before you started all this? Before you became who you are, how was it in school? Were you good at school? Were you passionate about education?
Good question. I'd say my school life was quite it was quite an interesting one. When I joined primary school, absolutely amazing. Absolutely loved my primary school, St. Mary's. Big shout out to St. Mary's in Mosside. And that was one of the reasons why I went back to work at St. Mary's, because they made me realize that, wow, working in a school is amazing. It's a fantastic opportunity. But transitioning into secondary school, I'd say I wouldn't say I had a positive secondary school experience. I'd say due to several things really. The majority of my friendship group were of a, let's say they were all in the higher sets. In other words, I wasn't an academic well student, which meant that I was always, when I joined secondary school, I was in the middle set. And throughout secondary school, I never left the middle set. So sometimes when you have a friendship group and you are in the middle set, which now
we feel like left out.
Exactly. Now we don't use those terminologies because it's not fair that young people feel that they're in a low set, middle set, or high set. But back then, that was how it was. So because I was always in that middle set and the rest of my friends were in top sets, I felt quite, that was something that I didn't feel positive about. They had opportunities available to them that I didn't have. Such as they were going on, they had the opportunity to attend trips and residentials that I didn't have the opportunity to attend. So I would say that was one of the reasons as to why I didn't really feel supported during my secondary school experience. I'd say due to my anxieties around at that time, I'd say I quite missed a lot of time out of school as well. And that was due to health implications. Unfortunately, as a young person, I had quite a lot of health setbacks, which meant that there was quite a lot of operations and time out of school that I had to have. And then during the year 9 mark, that's when I sadly lost my close friend due to gun crime. So I'd say around that time, I'd say year 11 was the moment where I had that spark. And I think I realized that it's the last year of secondary school. I need to make the most out of this final year. That was the year where I knew that, what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to work with young people. I knew I possibly wanted to become a teacher. I knew that my long-term goal was to become a head teacher. And I knew that I had that final year to try and get the best out of my grades. So from that year 11 mark, I came into school. I never missed a day. I was 1 hour early to school every single day. Once school finished, I was that student who would stay behind, who would catch up on homework, who would do extra classes, tuitions, boosters. When I had no classes to do, I would volunteer and ask the class teachers, if they needed any help. I'd volunteer for different events. That was when I became a student ambassador and a part of the school council. So it's like that final year came, and that's when I realized that I needed to get my grips together. So that was kind of my journey, and I'm glad that I had that spark in year 11 because I managed to leave school with all my GCSEs. I was able to progress on that path that I wanted to be, and that's why I'm here now.
Do you think you'd be on that same path without your qualifications, without your GCSEs?
I'd say GCSEs are 100% important, and they contribute into your post-16 journey. So in terms of if you want to go to college, or if you want to go on to apprenticeship, or if you want to go straight into employment, your GCSEs are very important, especially your core GCSEs. But I'd say a lot of the reasons as to why I'm in the position that I'm in now is down to a lot of my extracurricular that I took part in. So remember, throughout my year 7 journey, throughout that 2007, I should say, upwards, that's when I started to embed my skills in different ways. That was when I started volunteering with different organizations. I started in the school holidays and spending time doing work experience. That was off my own back, preparing myself for employment. So I'd say it was down to how I got involved within my local community, how I volunteered my time, the services that I were a part of. I'd say those opportunities that I tapped into and that I had the pleasure of accessing, they played a huge part into how I managed to get to the stage that I'm at now.
School never stress you out in a way, did you never you ever think that I don't want to go to school? It's kind of too much for me to handle.
I'd say for me, my implications in terms of my difficulties with school was just that I wasn't a young person who could cope well with exam pressure. So when it came towards when I knew we were having mock exams and when we were preparing for big exams such as GCSE and the end of term mocks, that's when I felt pressured by school. And that was just down to the fact that I struggled. I struggled in terms of preparing for an exam. I struggled with revising for exams and then sitting the exams as well. I struggled. But the difference with then and now is I had those struggles as a young person during my school experience, but I didn't speak about those struggles. I didn't tell anyone in school that I had those struggles. I didn't tell my head of year. I didn't open up. I didn't, I didn't let it be known. I kept it to myself, which is why I wasn't able to have that, that support that school could put in place. Whereas now, that's why I make sure I inform the young people that I work with now, such as you guys, that if there's ever an opportunity where you feel that you need some more support or that you feel that you're struggling a little bit, talk, make sure that members of staff know so that we can put the support in place. So I know that if I would have opened up and if I would have asked for that support that I needed, I would have received that support and I maybe would have, felt more supported at that time. But you live and you learn. And that's why I knew once I left high school, I realized, where I could have been better as an individual. And that's why during, for example, university, I ensured that each time I knew that I needed support, I'd always ask. And even now as an adult, if I'm working on something and I need support, I'm always able to say, I don't get this. can can somebody help me?
Yeah, you know what it is with me? Primary school is good, but coming into secondary school, I've kind of like, I don't really enjoy school as much. Like, I feel like I've started a business now. I've got two businesses. I feel like I kind of realized that school wouldn't really help me towards my business.
Okay, right.
Like, I feel like I've learned more from my business than from school.
Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is that's personal
Yeah,
development, yeah? So you're saying that you feel you've built up your personal development outside of school,
yeah,
which is how you feel which is what you've gained your skills from,
yeah,
and you feel that you wouldn't have been able to gain those skills from school.
yeah.
Yeah? Okay. And that's your view, and I respect it
For
because
me, for me, my view is like textbooks and exam papers won't help me. I feel like experience is more valuable than papers, than words in a way.
okay, yeah.
That's my view on it.
Okay, no problem. And understand where you're coming from because I've looked into your businesses, yeah, and you've got two amazing businesses that you've created at such a young age, yeah. But you can juggle the two and understand it's about experience
Yeah,
and it's about just that journey that we have to go through,
yeah,
yeah. So although that's your view on you feeling that right, I've got my businesses now, I don't feel that school can, let's say, can contribute to
yeah,
that whilst you are going through your secondary school journey, you still try your best to accomplish your GCSEs so that you've achieved them. Yeah.
yeah,
And then when you go on to post 16, hopefully you would have learned some form of an additional skill. It doesn't matter what that skill is, even if it's not to contribute to your business,
yeah,
it may be some form of skill, such as your confidence, for example, yeah, such as your people skills, yeah, anything like that. And then hopefully you're able to use that to contribute to your business. Or it may get to that stage where you're able to go into schools
I feel
yourself.
like doing this podcast is going to
Yeah,
build my confidence in a way
absolutely.
because, before this, I was thinking I'll just maybe do a quick 30-second video with you instead.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, let's take a risk. Let's do like maybe a 40-minute video, see how it goes.
Yeah.
In this way, I'll build my confidence and also I'll gain knowledge about you, about your views in school, about how you like were brought up,
Yeah.
how you became who you are now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's an absolutely amazing platform, yeah, because there'll be different topics that you'll be able to speak to either us as members of staff or your peers about. But what you will see is there's generally young people in your year group or in other year groups that will be able to access your platform and to gain information that they may want to know. Remember, I understand that sometimes us as educators, students don't always feel 100% confident speaking to the adult. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's a platform where they may be able to get advice and support, that's fantastic, and that's what you've created.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say was, how was your parents like view on, how you were like taking classes after school, doing extra work? What was their view on it?
So my parents, I have very supportive parents, and I always have, and I'm very grateful for the family network that I've had around me. And growing up, my mum and dad were both social workers, and as we all know, the work of social workers is it's quite large
Yeah.
in terms of. And my mum and dad were both relief social workers. So what that means is sometimes we'd be at home on a weekend and they'd get a phone call and they'd have to go and tend to that case.
Yeah.
So I lived in a household like that where I knew that my parents, they had a good job, and I knew that they worked tirelessly around the clock because they wanted the best for their children and for their family. So how school and how youth club helped me was I was able to stay behind at school, yeah, and to do these extra classes. I was also then I had a structure. So my structure was always from returning from school, come home, shower, take off my uniform, eat, and then I was back out again at youth club. And then that gave my parents time. So it gave me the structure. So I knew that was my structure. Leaving from school and then going to youth club built up my people skills. Because around when I was much younger, you might be surprised at this, but I was very shy. I only wanted to be surrounded around family because we were a very close knit family, and that was what I was used to.
Yeah.
I didn't really like socializing with others, and I didn't really like, let's say, spending time in other people's homes, like
Yeah.
friends and stuff like that. Whereas once I started attending youth club, I was able to become more sociable.
Yeah.
I was able to find new friends, and I was able to just come out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So me having that structure helped my parents to stay longer at work, or to be at home and to catch up on work that they needed to do, so that then once I came home, we were able to then have family time.
Yeah.
So I was very grateful to have those structures in place. And I think one of the reasons why my parents worked so hard as well is because they wanted to give us, meaning me and my siblings, opportunities that they didn't have when they were our age. And those opportunities were things like holidays, for example. My parents knew that the holidays that they mainly went on were holidays that they bought themselves on as their
Yeah.
during their adulthood,
Okay.
whereas they wanted to give us the opportunities that they didn't have, and
Yeah.
that was their mission for working tirelessly.
Yeah.
And I understood that, I appreciated that, and I think that's maybe why I adapted quite a lot of their approach now. Because I'd say I'm quite a workaholic. I'd say I work hard, I work a lot,
Yeah.
but that's because I want to. I want to because I know that I want to do well in my
Yeah.
job.
You know what I always think of, like with work, like after school and coming home, getting changed and just working. Like with me, my work is kind of what I like to do to relax. For example, my friends would be like, just relax, take some breaks. I'm like, no, because this is the way I relax. Working is like my way of relaxing. And I feel like there's no need for work-life balance, if you get what I mean.
I understand, yeah,
Yeah.
because if you enjoy what you do,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like work.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. For example, that question often comes up amongst educators. They always say, "Oh, how do you find your work-life balance?" Or "How do you find it? You're always so busy." And I always say it's fine because I enjoy what I do. I can honestly say, since being in the role of assistant principal and since being at our school, um, I don't think there's been a moment when I've looked at my watch and thought, "Oh gosh, there's 2 hours to go. Oh, there's 3 hours to go." The only time that I look at my watch is when I know that the building is closing.
Yeah.
And that's what we want, isn't it? We always want to be in a job and in a role that we absolutely love, and that doesn't feel like work. And that's exactly linking in with what you're saying in regards to you and your businesses.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of starting your own businesses?
I'd say I have had the thought of starting my own business, but I'd say my business model would be, what I thought of was opening my own youth club. Yeah. So it's quite, although it's not a business that may accumulate funds and expenditure, it's a business in a different way. Yeah. So that was my thought in terms of opening my own youth club. The second business was, I thought that one day I'd love to open my own school.
Yeah.
And when I had the thought of opening my own school, it necessarily doesn't have to be a mainstream school.
Yeah.
So like our school is a mainstream school. It could be, for example, a school that has a facility for young people who need an off-site direction. And what that may be is, a young person who just may need a break from their school, and they go to another school, another hub for a short period of time. We used to call it, for example, step outs and managed
Yeah.
moves. You would have heard those labels being used. They are quite the businesses
Yeah.
that I've thought of. So as you can see,
Yeah.
they are businesses,
Yeah.
but the business in a different way. They're like an establishment. I think the reason why I've not acted on that was because, in regards to the youth clubs, I feel that we are very fortunate in Manchester in terms of we have amazing youth organisations now.
Yeah.
We have the Moss Side Powerhouse, we have Hideaway Youth Club, we have Trinity Youth Zone, we have the Hideout Youth Clubs as well, in North Manchester and in Salford. We have fantastic youth. We have Community on Solid Ground in Wally Range. We have fantastic youth clubs already.
Yeah.
So I am a believer in, if there's already great things happening, why create an external to add on to that when those organisations are doing great things in each area?
but what you could do is add more and make those great things greater.
Absolutely, I
Yeah,
agree. But I'm a big believer of partnership work.
yeah,
So I think how I could connect that is in terms of maybe liaising with those amazing youth organisations that we currently have
yeah,
and seeing what we can do together. Because I do feel that collective work makes a huge difference in terms of getting to that goal.
yeah, yeah. You know, the business models you were saying, I feel like they could work. Um, with me, I have loads of competition in graphic design. There's so many agencies, they're all adults and they're all bigger than me. They're making millions in Manchester, but I'm still going because my kind of way of marketing myself is I'm young. I've got the skills of someone who is higher than me. That's the way I market myself. So I feel like even though there's competition, I can still make it. I can still make myself out there.
Absolutely. And that's fantastic. And I feel that loads of organizations, their mission now is to support local
Yeah,
businesses and to support young people. And
yeah,
I know as a fact that if or when I open up my businesses, I will definitely be getting in touch with you, yeah, to try and use your services because
absolutely.
what you have on offer is at such a young age is fantastic.
Yeah. So I feel like with me, my influence was my dad. What about yourself?
That's great. So tell me more about that. Just before I go into mine, so your influence was your dad.
Yeah.
So how has dad influenced
So
you?
I was right 7, 8 years old. He used to take me to work with him. So he works in textiles. So he'd pack orders, ship them. I'd pack them with him. And like throughout that, I've seen him. He was working hard. That motivates me. So if he's working hard, I want to work hard too. So
Absolutely, yeah, fantastic. I similar. So I'd say my motivators were obviously my parents. As I've said earlier, my parents are my inspirations because they're just amazing. They never complain. They get on with it. They're always helping other
yeah,
people. Everything that they do consists around helping someone, and you know that's all we want in life. So my parents definitely. I'd say secondly, there's a few individuals that I must include in this. So there's a lady called Mrs. McGarry, and
okay,
Mrs. McGarry was she was my head teacher. So before that, actually, so Mrs. McGarry was my year two and year three teacher when I was in primary school. I then went back to work at St. Mary's Primary School, so she became my boss because
yeah,
she was the head teacher of the school. Yeah, but Mrs. McGarry was an individual who, at the age of 16, she approached me, offered me a job as a teaching assistant, and gave me the promise that I will support you and I will build you so that you are ready and that you strive within the education sector.
yeah,
I thought, okay, yeah, I've got a job, no problem, and I didn't
yeah,
think nothing of it. But she really did, and I stayed at her school from 2010 to 2018, and I ended up leaving her school with 2 degrees, a teaching qualification, and having developed myself as an educator in several different roles. And up to this day, we speak on a regular basis, we share resources, and we still help each other today. So that's the one person. Hats off to you, Mrs. McGarry. The second person is a lady called Ruth Ibegbuna. And Ruth was the CEO and the founder of Reclaim. So
okay,
remember I spoke to you about the Reclaim
yeah,
project, which was the project that took us in during that time when the good and knife crime was rate was high in Manchester, and they gave us the opportunities to build us to being able to open up and speak about what we believe in. I now work closely with Ruth. I still work closely with Ruth as an adult. I'm now a trustee of her new organisation called Rekindle, which is a supplementary school based in Hume. And like I said, Ruth is an inspiration and was one of my role models as well. Last few individuals, I'd say a gentleman called Christian Harris. Christian Harris he's one of the deputy head teachers from Charlton High School.
okay,
And when I went to work, I worked at CHSL for 5 years in several different roles: head of year, senior pastoral manager. And I remember Mr. Harris basically pulling me aside and saying, he just made me realize that I was great at my job.
yeah,
And I remember him asking, what's your next step? What do you want to do? And I remember saying to him, oh, I possibly might look at other head of year positions in other schools. And he then said to me, head of year? You've done head of year for years now. You know how to do that. You're ready for senior leadership. And I never realized until that moment I wasn't looking into senior leadership. And that was when I actually started looking for assistant principal jobs, assistant head teacher jobs, because he made me realize that actually I'm ready for that next step. The last person I'm going to mention is a good friend of mine called Dwayne Brandy. Dwayne Brandy, he's vice principal at Oasis Academy in Salford. A very good personal friend, but once again, we used to meet up on a weekly basis and we used to go to the barbers together. And he asked me the same question, like Mr. Harris. He said, "What's your next step? What do you want to do?" So I said, "Oh, I'm not sure." He said, "What about headship?" And I remember him encouraging me and guiding me and saying, "Look, come on, we need more individuals who are of global majority in leadership positions." And he's right in terms of when you look at the percentages of, let's say, Black or Asian leaders in schools, the percentage is very small, very small. So he made me look at it in terms of what's my mission? Why do I want to become a leader? Why do I want to become a head teacher? And it was to break down those barriers and to break down those stereotypes. So those individuals played a big part in inspiring me to persevere and to stay strong and to no matter what, and to not allow anything to get in the way of me achieving success and me achieving my goals.
That's good. So do you still inspired to this day by them?
100%. I still feel inspired by each of those four individuals. And even it's now being an adult, being at the age of 30 years old, I'm 31 soon, I still contact each of those on a regular basis. Let's say if I need some support or some guidance, or if I need some reassurance, I know I can contact each of those individuals and they're always at the end of the phone, helping and supporting me.
So what's your next steps?
My next steps are I am striving for headship. Okay. So I want to become a head teacher or a principal. My goals are, I'm not sure if my goal is achievable or not, but I'm giving myself to the age of 35. So I have 5 years to secure headship in a school. A part of my my journey now is in regards to qualifications. I have the qualifications that I need to become a head, so that's great. But at current, I'm doing a national professional qualification in headship, and what that means is that it's a 12 to 15 month course, and it's to work with individuals who are leaders, who are aspiring to become a head. So I finished the course in 3 months. And at the end of that course, hopefully I would have passed, which I should do because I've put all my strength and energy into it. And hopefully by the end of that course, I would have been equipped with more knowledge and more understanding of what a head teacher or a principal needs or how they should be as a key figure in the sector. And then that's where my journey will begin in terms of trying to improve my knowledge, trying to do all I can to prepare me so I am ready for headship.
Yeah. So if you could start a business today, how would you get yourself out there?
If I could start a business today, my business would be to open up my own off-site provision. And how I would get myself out there would be to make sure that all the schools within the city that my business is in would be aware of my provision, would understand and would know about the offer, and would have had the opportunity to experience and to see how special my provision is before being able to tap in and refer into my business.
So, if you could start right now, why aren't you?
If I could start right now, the reason why I'm not is because I feel that as a leader, I need to develop me. And the first step would be, before opening a business or before, let's say, creating my offsite provision, I think what would enable my provision to be more strong and more, a provision that's needed in this city would be by me having experience as a head, understanding the logistics around having and being in management of the provision before creating my own. Because sometimes I feel it's best to ensure that you have all the skills and knowledge before acting on that
Yeah.
task.
With me, 2 years ago, I started a business. It was on New Year's Day. I was sat down. I started a business with web design. I think I ran it for 6 months. I got no clients, no nothing, so no money, and I just quit. But that made me realize that I need to try harder. I need to do different marketing strategies. I need to get myself out there more and more. So obviously, with experience, by just experiencing like business and how everything works, I managed to open another one last year, which now I'm running. So I feel like you don't need the skills straight away. I had no skills. I only had the skill of web design, and now I've got the skills of graphic design, web design, and business by learning.
Definitely, that's good. That's good to know. Thank you very much for that. And you are inspiring me. You are inspiring me to think of ways in terms of my next steps.
Yeah.
And you're also inspiring me to understand that I actually may not possibly need to wait. It may be something that I could do within this time of me preparing myself for headship. So
Last
thank
night I
you.
was writing a newsletter because I write newsletters every week or so. So I'm writing, and I was writing about a friend of mine. So one day we both of us first sat down. He's thinking of business ideas. I'm like, okay, I'll support you, I'll help you out. I made him branding, and I think he started drop shipping. That's something he did on TikTok Shop. So I think after a week he quit. So he stopped, and I asked him why. He goes, I got no sales. So what he was doing was taking other people's videos, not putting no effort in, and he was basically just setting himself up for failure. He wasn't doing the stuff right.
Right,
So then after this, he started another business, another one, another one, another one, until he just quit. He's still in the school. He's going to school now.
right,
He's got a business. And while he was doing this, I was on calls with him, building myself up. And now I'm at this position where I have a good business now, while he doesn't, because he wasn't consistent. He didn't stay, like, he didn't keep his eyes on the prize.
mm,
So I feel like you don't have to wait for the right time. You can start now. Like, I started just a random day. I thought, okay, I'm gonna start. And because I started on that day, I'm here at this position where I can do what I like, be my own boss, have my own hours. And I feel like after I leave school, I won't really need to go into corporate jobs. I'll be straight into business.
that's fantastic. No, definitely. And it shows in terms of the power of determination. The power of determination, but also something special that you said there, the power of who's around you in terms of your support network. Everyone needs a support network. And although your friend, he tried, gave up, that's just because he wasn't determined, yeah. But he had that friend around him who was you, who was trying to encourage him, who was trying to support him. And similar to when I said before about those individuals who I named, those individuals are my support network who I know I can go to and for advice and support as well. So it's fantastic that what we are saying in terms of what's needed, in terms of helping someone to achieve, we're aligning.
Yep. All right. So another thing I wanted to say was when I started, the only person I had was my dad. At that time, he's run a few companies. He knows what he's doing. But then I felt like other people didn't have someone to go to. So I had my dad. I was like, if I had an issue, I'll go to my dad. If I had like a business issue, he'd be the first person to go to because he's got the experience. He hasn't been to university. He hasn't got much education, but he still built an empire. And yeah, so I felt like no one else really had that. So I wanted to be that person who'd be like, come to me for graphic design, come to me for business advice as well.
Mm.
I may be young, but I've got skills, I've got the knowledge.
Absolutely.
So I started an Instagram group chat, and now I've got, it's small, but people are there, they're appreciating what I'm sending out to them. I've got other graphic designers along with me, and we're all trying to help each other.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. And linking in with what I said earlier about the importance of partnership work, fantastic, brilliant. So you are building your network outside of just you. And I think that's a special thing to do in terms of when you know you've built something very strong and you know that is good. What we do and what you're doing is you're creating that opportunity for other people as well. You're giving them the opportunity to experience or to join or to be a part and to learn your skills. I think that's important to do.
Yep. I don't just want to be the person winning. I want to win with other people.
Absolutely.
So I feel like if I had this network now that I have, people read my letters every week or so, and I seen just a few days ago someone sent me a message saying they loved the letter, they felt so happy when they read it, and that just made me feel good.
Brilliant.
So I feel like you should give to people without taking back, without expecting something back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you do that, that's like, you know, how we can get our like knowledge out there, and then how we can spread kindness around the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's all for today. I appreciate you coming and talking with me.
No problem. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. But it's not all the time that sometimes, you know, you get approached in a way. And like we said earlier, you know, I've had several interviews across the year, but this is special because it's you know, somewhat a young person that I'm working with. So thank you very much. Well done. We are absolutely proud of you and can't wait to be working with you outside of the school network.
All right, thank you.